Good evening and welcome to the September 9th, 2020 North Andover Conservation Commission meeting. Just a short announcement regarding tonight's format. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, MGL Chapter 30A, Section 18, and Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the North Andover Conservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website at www.northandoverma.gov. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch the meeting may do so on their televisions by tuning to Comcast Channel 8 or Verizon Channel 26, or online at www.northandovercam.org. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the Town of North Andover website audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. If the public would like to participate in public hearings, please email your question or comment prior to or during the meeting to Amy Maxner at amaxner@northandoverma.gov. The question or comment will be read during the proceedings and responded to accordingly. And just before we start, just want to make sure that everyone should mute themselves. The commission members should stay live, and then you guys can unmute as we get to the item on the agenda. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Amy. I will put you to my immediate right. So Joe, Al, we're going to do Joe, you sit.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Al?
I'm having a difficult time hearing Lou.
You have a difficult.
Yeah, you're breaking up. You are breaking up, Lou. I don't know if you're on a cell phone or not, but it sounds like when you drive through a dead zone, you break in and out. Am I alone with this, or?
No, you're not alone. I can't hear him. If he's talking, I can't hear him right now.
I can't hear a thing. And when he was talking, it was breaking up and chattery.
Right.
Which is typical of when you're driving through Boxed, you know.
Yeah. All right. So he just left the meeting, so I think he's going to try to call back in.
Well, we'll have to wait.
Okay.
Hey, Maureen.
Amy, do you want to try sending him a text just in case he can get that?
Sure.
Oh.
Hello.
There he is. Did he lose him again? 89. I don't see him.
Hello.
Oh, is that Lou?
Hi, Lou.
Yes, I'm back. I'm using a landline now.
Good choice.
Oh, good.
Good.
Excellent.
Thank you. Okay, I'm sorry I messed up.
No, no.
Okay, so we're gonna have Joe's there, Al's there. Jack, are you there?
I am here.
Very good. Sean?
I'm here.
Very good. Amy, we don't have any minutes for review?
We don't.
We don't. Ooh, you're slipping.
I know. I'll have to tell Jamie that.
Yeah, there you go. All right, the first order of business is general business, and it's election of Conservation Commission officers.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
as Vice Chairman, I would like to nominate you, Lou Napoli, to be reelected as Chairman of the Conservation Commission for another term.
Second.
That's
All
true.
those in favor say aye.
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 And I would also like to nominate Al Manzi as as an assistant vice commissioner of also.
Vice Chair, okay.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. So we're at it again, Al.
No way out, Lou. Just when you think you're going to get out, we keep dragging you back in.
I know it's a death sentence. All right, first order of business, certificate of compliance, 242-17-23, request to continue to the next meeting because we haven't got the affidavit letter.
Correct.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, and that's unanimous. Next one is RDA 136 Raleigh Tavman Lane.
Okay, so this RDA comes in response to an enforcement letter that was written in response to work being done at 136 Raleigh Tavern involving front walk and steps. Just as background, I was driving home from town hall after being ordered to go home due to COVID-19. So it was literally the day of the shutdown, and noticed work being done. I instructed the landscape company to cease and desist, to stake and extend erosion controls, and await further instruction until after I could speak with the chairman. Just because we really had absolutely no idea what our meetings and permitting process was going to look like moving forward. So we discussed this, and the chairman instructed me to issue an enforcement order to allow for the work on the walkway to continue because he felt that it was a life safety issue to have the front egress of the house. With that, conditions were attached to that, allowing work to continue, which included monumenting the edge of the wetland, which the applicant and the landscaper readily complied with. And so the letter also required that there would be an after-the-fact permit process for this walkway and steps and any other work that they decided to do. So after the work was done on the walkway, I advised the applicant to have the wetland delineated formally. Norse Environmental flagged that wetland, so we have an isolated wetland on the east side of the driveway and a bordering vegetated wetland on the west side.
I think whoever's got the dog has to.
For the record, it's not me, Al.
No.
That's
Does anybody want to confess to having the dog?
Yeah,
I will confess as long as it doesn't penalize my client.
no, that's all right.
Well, then, if it's somebody that's not a commissioner, they should mute.
Yeah, if you could mute Bob, and
Yeah,
then
this is my project you're talking about, so I suppose I have to stay on at least. Are you done, dog? I think she's done.
all right. So I inspected the wetland delineation and I found them, both lines to be reasonable and actually a little bit closer or up gradient than I thought originally. Let's see. Based on my field measurements, the bottom step is 47 feet. The wetland.
Shut up.
So Bob, maybe you should just mute.
Okay.
I'll give an intro, and if we need you, we can ask you to mute. Okay.
Do this right. Go ahead.
What is there, a full moon out there?
Oh, no.
A disgruntled applicant.
Got a hound dog.
Right.
Okay, continue, Amy.
Okay, so so the bottom step is 47 feet from the wetland flag B2, and there's a boulder retaining wall. There's a retaining boulder on the A series side, and that's 44 feet from the wetland at their closest points. The driveway is located within the 25 and the 50. It just, shoots right through the middle of them. We've received an updated sketch plan that accurately depicts my measurements in the field. And
Amy,
Yeah.
were you able to figure out what year this house was built?
yes,
I think it was 1970.
and I have 1964.
Okay,
Okay.
so that was before the Wetlands Act. So the driveway pretty much is grandfathered, correct?
I think so.
Okay. Just so we don't need a waiver for the driveway. Do we, Al?
Is the driveway repaired in kind, or is it in addition to?
No, it was repaired in kind.
No change in the dimensions?
Okay.
Right. It's simply repaving in the same footprint.
Okay.
I think we did submit a waiver. This is Bob Prokop.
What's
Yeah.
that, Bob?
No, I think we did submit a waiver.
Yes.
Just-
Yeah, but
Yep.
you don't need one.
You know what, Lou? We could consider. I don't know if he needs one or doesn't. I'm interested to see what the other guys say, but
Okay.
it wouldn't hurt to let him submit it.
Okay. Joe, questions?
No questions at all, given the age of the house. On the waiver question, I think a waiver just document for the record that the driveway is permitted, even under today's standards, because of the grandfathering aspect. So I agree with Al. Let him ask for it and we can consider it, but given the age, I think the consideration is not as robust as it typically would be. So really, this was work that they carried out on their own without a permit initially, unknowingly or whatever. They're under an enforcement order, and they're just coming in now to formalize the process. Everything they're proposing is something that we wouldn't deny. How does the isolated wetland come into play? It looks to me it's like in the middle of the property line between two houses, and
Yeah. It's a depressed area.
yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. It may be just maybe even a rotted stump, but North flagged it. I mean, were you able to confirm the flagging?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, but even at that, the driveway is no closer to whatever it is that's there now and may not have been there back in the day. The
Correct.
driveway's right in the same footprint.
Right.
Okay, and the walkway is between the 25 and 50, so that would be something we would allow too.
Right.
Now, I don't have any real topo here, but I do have, because at least I haven't seen that plan yet. But the aerial photo to me looks like it's pretty darn flat out there, so we're not even concerned with any erosion control as they do, not control, but concern of erosion finding its way to the wetland, so long as it's protected.
Yeah. There's a little bit of a slope at the A series, the BVW side. I mean, they both dip down off the side of the driveway, and where the walkway is, it's sort of a plateau. But, you know, they haven't had any erosion problems. I've been to the site 2 or 3 times since, and, you know, I don't think the driveway work will, you know, pose any risk either.
Yeah, this is and really the work was pretty much ongoing back in March, and you said they complied by ceasing desisting and just doing some of the work that brings them to the permitting position here. So it would seem to me, if we don't have any concerns with waivers or whatnot, this is the optimum time for them to finish this project, get the lawn planted and everything stabilized. Well, I have no questions.
Okay.
Thank you, Al. Al? Joe?
Hi. Actually, Amy, first question's for you. So I don't know if this was asked yet, but you've gone out and you've reviewed the wetland delineation. You're satisfied with that?
I am.
And
Yes.
and the scope of work is a repave of the driveway?
Yes.
And, okay, and so the waiver request is just specific to the driveway repave. It's not a waiver request that is being considered for any other work. Is that right?
Well, I think it related to the
The
walk.
retaining wall, right?
No, the walkway and the boulder retaining wall.
And
It's
the
boulder
distance from the walkway, is that 48 feet? Is that what I'm seeing on the photo?
Roughly.
roughly, yes. It's
How roughly?
47, Al.
47. I'm looking at the photo. I have two numbers, 47 and 48. I have the B2 series and the A7 series, it looks like.
It is.
No,
It's
the
47 from the B series, and
Okay.
it's 44 from the A series.
Okay. All right. I'm all set. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Jack?
Yes.
Question?
It sounds like this applicant is being cooperative with the commission, and in view of the grandfathered setbacks, I really don't have any major questions with the waiver request. I do recall vaguely, and I may be wrong, but I thought there was tree clearing involved with the original enforcement order. And is that, Amy, I guess I'll hit you with that one. Is that part of the original enforcement order?
No, there was no vegetation removal at all with this project.
There wasn't that. All right. So I don't have any other questions.
Okay, thank you, Jack. Sean?
And so this is all existing conditions, right, Amy?
Yep.
Yep. And the walkway is it pervious?
It's a block.
no,
It's not.
patio blocks.
It's patio blocks. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Patio block with sand in between,
Yes.
so they can drain through.
Yep.
I believe so.
Yep.
Yep.
And the retaining wall is how far away?
Let me see. Hold on. There's a boulder on the A series side, and it's 44 feet from the wetland.
Yep. So outside the 25.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Okay, I do. I've never heard of this. This is the first for me, Bob. They're gonna mill the driveway?
Yeah, they're not going to pave. It's not going to be a coat. I think, according to the homeowner, he did say that he wanted to, because it's such bad shape that he wanted to redo it totally.
Yeah, but it says here mill. So I was curious, because if it's gonna mill, we probably should think about erosion control. If he's gonna just resurface it, then he doesn't have to. I don't think he does, Joe. Do you concur?
Well, I'm hearing a couple of things that conflict on process, and maybe just, someone hung up on incorrect nomenclature. first of all, like you said, you've never heard of it. You don't usually mill a driveway. It's not big enough to even be cost effective. So I think what they're talking about is probably a full depth. If it's in bad shape, they're not going to overlay it either. They want to get a good base under it. So it sounds to me like they're going to probably excavate it. In fact, almost certainly going to excavate it, bring in some, take out the unsuitable material, bring in some good gravel, and then repave. That would be the right way to do it.
Yeah. Even in the foot, it's crooked too. Yeah.
So with all that being said, I mean, I see no reason to not put erosion controls in. On the contrary, I think they need erosion controls.
Thank you.
Erosion control is already installed though.
I mean, we would just put a little extra around the isolated wetland side, and that's it.
That's right.
And we'll be all set.
Okay.
But does that show on the plan, or is that going to be something that comes out of this discussion, Amy?
That was a condition I was going to suggest.
Okay.
It is in the photos, by the way, if you can see the photos. This is Bob Prokop.
This is the homeowner. I've confirmed with the landscapers there will be erosion control on the other side before the project starts.
Yeah, I do see a silt sock, but a very little one. I think they should do it on the other side that I haven't seen. Well, you can list that as a pre-construction
Condition.
condition.
Okay.
The way what you think what we would want.
Yep.
All right. Does that work for the rest of the commissioners?
I'm fine with that, Lou.
Okay, Sean,
Yep.
Jack,
Yes.
and Joe is already in agreement with. I take it. All right.
Yes.
So we need a motion.
So
we're gonna grant we have to grant the waiver first. Even
Can you grant a waiver on an IDA? That's what's before us, right?
yeah.
Yeah, it's highly unusual to grant a waiver on an IDA. We always fall back on the same discussion. The IDAs are 3 conditions or less, and generally no waiver is needed.
okay. Well,
This is on the far edge of an IDA,
okay. So the house was built in 1970. I confirm. Yeah. So it's.
Well, that's why I asked about that. I didn't think we needed a waiver because the driveway was existing.
We're just trying to protect the homeowner. That's all.
Correct.
Get it on the record by getting it on the record. So
We keep tempting ourselves to put the horse before the cart here. So we got a grandfathered condition which allows the previous condition to continue to exist, but we still have an activity in a resource, within buffer zone to a resource area. So what we debating is whether this is a positive determination or not. And we are debating that, sure, you can do the work to the extent that was already there because it's grandfathered, but it's still an NOI. That's where I put this thing in that order. Unless, of course, we can say that it's all outside the resource area, it doesn't fit the small project criteria, and we can limit the number of conditions. If we can do all of that, we might be stretching the IDA probably the furthest we ever have. But I don't think I think the waiver discussion kind of conflicts with the whole RDA principle.
So we can just not address the waiver. We can just address it as what it is. Take the IDA on its face on a house that was built in 1970, an in-kind replacement or repair. We can just simply do it that way. And perhaps instead of considering a waiver, just get an as-built drawing for the records. That way we have something that's permanent.
Okay.
Fair enough.
So I'll move that if you don't mind.
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, that's unanimous.
Okay, so it's a -3 with requirement of erosion controls additional erosion controls and an as-built plan at the end?
Yeah, the bullet you have, pre-construction meeting with driveway contractor, post-construction inspection, maintain wetland posts and markers, and submit an as-built.
Okay. All right.
All right? And Bob, you can stop choking your dog.
Actually, you probably ought to take him for a walk. Sounds like he needs to go.
He already went. We early.
Very good. All right, we good on this one?
Yep.
Yes, we're good. Next
All right.
one is,
Well done.
242-1787, 135 North Ramp Road. Request to continue to 9/23.
So moved.
Thank you, guys.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
And that's unanimous. The next one is 242-1792, Stephen Coolidge Place. Request to continue to 9/23.
So moved.
How do we get out of here now?
There's
Second.
second.
All those
Sean?
in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? And that's unanimous.
All right,
Next one.
Lou, before you go on, do we have all our commissions, or are we missing people again?
No, I think we're all there.
Al, we're missing people.
Yeah, I think
We
we're missing
are?
people too.
We are?
Yeah, I think
I
we
don't
are.
think so. Did you? Okay, can you hear me? This is Jack.
Okay, yep,
This is
You
Joe.
can hear me?
Joe.
Yeah,
Oh.
I'm here. I'm not hearing Sean.
I heard
Sean's here.
Sean. I heard
Is Sean there?
Yep.
All right. Okay. Very
It
good.
was Joe.
Lou, I should let you know, the internet cut out of my house. And I am for any files.
It's
I
really,
threw it all, but I'm going by memory right now.
What is going on?
It was intermittent, so I can't tell what he said.
Yeah, Jack, you're all
internet-
broken up.
The internet went out in my house.
Okay. All right. You've lost your internet, so your phone is going to be spotty.
Yes, and I don't have access to the agenda via the files.
Okay. I understand what's happening.
Okay.
And
I'll do my best.
no landline available. Just Wi-Fi only.
The phone, if you can hear me, the phone's fine, but I don't have my reference materials in front of me.
okay.
Okay. I thought you were breaking up a little bit too, but that's okay. We'll do the best we can then.
Okay. Yeah, I think you follow our lead anyway. I don't think the rest of them are that contentious. One of them we're just gonna open. Well, I shouldn't say that there is one, but we haven't got to the end. All right, the next one is 242-1783 Brook School.
Okay,
Hey,
so-
Lou, if you could circle back for about 10 seconds on trustees. I know that Amy was trying to get some of the other commissioners perhaps to do a site walk, and I think Al would probably agree that it was hugely beneficial to be there, boots on the ground, and seeing it for myself. And I think I would encourage, Sean and Jack to try to do the same.
If it's possible, it's always helpful to get there.
This is certainly a unique project that we would probably never consider anywhere else. But when you get out there and see it and understand the principles behind it, it actually might make a hell of a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just my suggestion.
No, I agree with you, Joe. If anybody has any questions about what exactly it is, standing on the ground made all the difference in the world, no doubt.
Yeah, I would agree, because I was on the fence and talking to you, Al and Joe and Amy, it made sense.
So Sean and Jack, I'll circle back with you to try to identify a time to get together and go out there.
Maybe early next week works well for me.
Okay,
Sounds good.
okay, great.
Good. Thank you, Joe. The next one is 242-1783 Brook School.
Okay, so the commission will recall holding initial discussion at the last meeting and continuing to allow the third-party peer review to conclude for the stormwater. The commission will recall that this project involves relocating the south entrance to the campus and associated stormwater management facilities. I provided you with the second peer review from Horsley Witten, and only 2 outstanding items came out of that letter: the need for an overall stormwater BMP map and revised erosion control that requires both silt fence and silt sock in certain areas. The applicant responded with those materials, and Horsley Witten signed off by way of email. So we have that in hand. The planning board has finished. I don't know what that noise is, but
sounds like somebody putting an addition onto the house.
They have a permit.
yeah, right.
Well, yeah.
So the planning board has finished their hearing, and the staff is currently drafting an approval, and they expect to close the hearing on the 15th. And that approval. Okay, so the commission could choose to continue this hearing to the 23rd. And in the meantime, I would be able to draft up a decision that you could vote on. You could close on the 23rd and vote on a decision. So that's a path forward.
Thank you. Joe, any questions?
I mean, it's always much safer to keep the agenda, the item on the agenda and keep it open, should something unusual happen at the planning board meeting. So, but I think relative to the project itself, we were just awaiting for the input from the peer reviewer, and everything looks fine. Amy, the erosion controls as presented, they're adequate from our perspective, correct?
Yes. Yep. They're a combination of silt fence and silt sock. So I agree with that.
Okay. So I'm all set.
Thank you, Joe. Al?
All set, thank you.
Jack?
Oh,
Oh,
did we lose Jack?
hello?
Oh. He may have.
Do we still have Sean?
I am here, and I have no questions.
Very good. I agree with Amy's recommendations. I can't speak for Jack, so we might as well wait.
Amy, you don't have any way of knowing who's on, huh? They don't have a.
The names don't come up. I can just see like the last couple numbers of the phone number. So.
Okay.
I'll text Jack. I'll see what he says.
Tell me what the last couple numbers are that you have.
He's trying to log back in now.
Okay.
And he's the last 2 numbers of his phone number is 86.
Right. Okay. I have that. That's the number I have. Okay. Thanks.
Okay.
Oh, maybe that was him falling down the stairs. Maybe he had a bourbon or something.
Oh man.
Jeez.
Are you out there, Jack?
He's trying to get back in. So.
He's probably got no signal out there, and he's on his cell phone. And with the internet being down, he's probably not getting any internet boost on the cell phone.
It sounds like it. You know, I'm going to send him, if I can find his number, I'm going to send him a text and ask him if he wants us to continue without him because we still have a quorum. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
We would still have a quorum.
Yep.
Yeah, we lost internet at work as well, so it's just been an all-day thing, I think.
I have to say, this style of meeting is becoming rapidly insufferable.
Yes, we talk about it every time me and Amy and I meet in front of town hall.
Can you hear me?
Text saying that we lost you and, oh, Jack?
Yeah, I just called back in. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, good.
Hey,
All right.
Jack, are you in a remote location where this might happen again?
I am not. I'm at home, but my wife was cleaning and she knocked the router out and after we started the meeting. So we've been having trouble ever since.
Yeah, sure. Blame your wife. That must have been you that was falling down the stairs.
Yeah, I was drunk again. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
What a tough crowd. Do you have any questions on Brook School?
No, I heard most of the discussion too.
Okay. Would you like to make a motion?
I move to continue.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous.
Great.
Thank you, everybody. Next one is 242-1794, 335 Willow Street.
Okay, so this notice of intent, we didn't hold discussion yet, but the applicant would like to make a brief presentation and field any questions that you have. So I'll just give a brief overview. The project involves 2 proposed additions to the existing building, walkways, regrading, and repaving the parking areas within the same footprint, and some landscaping. So they're proposing to remove 370 square feet of pavement within the 25-foot disturb zone and partially within the 50-foot no-build zone.
I don't know. I just tried to hit that button and we.
I think it's lost.
And to be replaced by 2 concrete pads totaling 304 square feet. So the remaining 66 square feet will be area of loamed and seed in the 25 and 50. So a waiver request worksheet was submitted with that for that work. The proposed new roof areas will be directed into a proposed subsurface infiltration chamber at the front of the building, and that's out of the buffer zone. Existing gutters will remain, with the northerly side of the building slated to receive crushed stone to encourage better infiltration. A low spot in the southerly parking lot immediately adjacent to the wetland contains a small spillway with remnant riprap partially buried with sediment that served to attenuate some runoff. This area will receive new riprap. The parking lot generally sheet flows off the site to adjacent wetlands or out to Willow Street drainage system. And all of these flow patterns are not to be changed. I walked the wetland line and found it to be accurate. The area to the west of the building contained a wetland replication from a previous order of conditions, and that area seems to be very well established. We're at the point where we have the first set of comments from the third-party peer review, and the applicant is in the midst of responding. So if you have any questions for me or John Moran, who's the project engineer, he's with us tonight.
I think you did a pretty good job opening up the application. John, if you have any, why don't we just ask the commission for some quick questions, unless you want to hear from John first, Joe.
No, I think what's good in this condition is that John, through various companies that he's been with, has been representing this property I dare say 15 or 20 years. He's got a great background on the issues out here every time they make an addition or a modification to the building. So, you know, I think he's got a pretty good handle on it. I don't have anything specific. Are we awaiting? Did this go out to the planning board's third party reviewer, or is it just us?
No, it hasn't gone to planning board, nor the third party review is reviewing it right now, or has questions, and John hasn't answered them yet.
Okay, I mean, for no reason other than waiting that response, I'd be willing to be patient and wait to hear what they have to say.
Okay, John, would you be amicable to continuing to the next meeting? John, are you there?
Yeah, I see him.
You know, Lou, he probably did what we asked. We asked everybody to mute, and he probably did exactly that.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep, we got you, John.
For the record, John Moran from the Moran Cameron Group. Thank you very much for hearing us tonight. As you know, at the first hearing, you didn't want to listen to any presentation because you were waiting to hear back from the planning board consultant. We were scheduled to appear before the planning board last week. Unfortunately, they scheduled us for election day. So all they would allowed us to do was just open the hearing and continue it. The good thing was the project was submitted out to their peer review consultant. We've already had one discussion with them. The items will be addressed. We're not looking at anything major issues that they had. And we'll be getting those submitted sometime this week. I have no problem requesting a continuance till your next meeting on September 23rd. I just wanted to be here tonight to try to flush out any items that might come up or that the commission may have. I didn't think there would be any. Amy did a great job explaining the project. I mean, all work is within existing either pavement, landscape, or building. As she had pointed out, we are removing, actually, the calculations are removing approximately 370 square feet of existing pavement within the 25 and 50, which will be loamed and seeded. Another portion of that pavement is actually going to be replaced with concrete pad. But again, the actual removal of impervious surface is going to be about 370 square feet and replaced with landscaping. So, you know, we're actually trying to make the site as more permeable as possible based on the proposed alterations. The main addition that's in the commission's buffer zone is actually within existing pavement. So you really have no net increase of impervious surface within the buffer zone. And as Amy had pointed out, you know, back in 1991 is when that addition was approved on the backside of the building. And as part of that addition, there was a wetland replication area. A certificate of compliance was issued for that project years ago. And as she had stated, the wetland's doing well. And, you know, at that time, the pavement was expanded to what it exists today. And as she had pointed out, there's a small riprap spillway that over the years, it's just accumulated sediment and it needs some attention. So, you know, we've got work within the 25-foot to do maintenance on that. We're also proposing the pavement's in pretty rough shape since the site was built back in 1985. So the pavement needs to be repaved. We're not proposing any expansion, but we will need to repave it. So we'd like to, you know, we'll fix that riprap spillway while we're down there. But again, there's no increase in pavement on the site.
Okay, thank you. Just for when you come again, we had this just recently with the application for a driveway. Are you just planning on resurfacing the existing pavement?
No, because we got to regrade it too.
Okay.
It's got some settling, so we just got to regrade it back to the way it was.
Okay, so reconstruction.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Excuse me. Okay, Al, you have any questions? Quick questions?
No, I don't have any questions. I'm all set. Thank you.
Jack, do you have any quick questions?
Did we lose him?
You still there, Jack?
still with us? Jack?
I'm here.
Do you have
Can
any
you hear me?
questions?
Yes.
Yes, I do. Do you have any quick questions for John?
I do not.
Okay, Sean?
No.
Okay, so we need a motion to continue to the next meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I,
Opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you, John.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night. All right, next one is 242-1795, 597 Foster Street.
No, we got,
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed one.
all right, that's
I
okay.
checked it out. 242-1781, 125 Osgood Street, Town of North Andover.
Okay, so this is submitted on by the town for sidewalk connections proposed in 2 discrete locations along the western side of Osgood Street between Sutton Road and Great Pond Road. The first section is from Sutton Street to the front along of the mobile station. BVW is located across the street at the toe slope of the roadway embankment, and the sidewalk work for in front of the mobile station is in the outer limits of that BVW. Existing conditions in the area where the sidewalk is proposed consists of a flat mulch landscape strip. There are 2 small stormwater detention basins located in front of the Safe Light Auto Glass property that were delineated for belt and suspenders, but no work is within the 100 feet of those basins. The second section is between the Casablanca restaurant and the strip mall at 1060 Osgood. There are 2 BVW lines located on the same side of this part of the project. One BVW was not accessible due to it was located on the airport, and airport fencing prohibited entry. But this wetland was very conservatively estimated, placing the work inside the 25 and the 50. Existing conditions in this area is relatively flat, grassy roadway shoulder. And the second BVW is east of the Casablanca, and work is in the outer limits of this wetland. A waiver request has been submitted for the work in the 25 and the 50. Additional roadway improvements on Sutton Street are proposed but are outside of the buffer zone. They include full depth repave, curbing, and pedestrian connections at the intersection. And there's some sewer work further east on Osgood outside of the buffer zone. The planning board issued a waiver from the watershed special permit. And let's see. I think that's it.
Okay, thank you, Amy. I have a question because I'm looking at a photograph. I don't know if I'm considered a butt. I'm looking at my garages on the photo. So I wasn't notified. So can you see the aerial? I don't know if that applies to me. It's on 125, so I'm in a butter of a butter.
Let me see. I'm going to look at the.
Are you in a butter over a butter within 300 feet?
Of the work? I would say yes. I think so. I think from the mobile station up is if you can see the aerial photograph, you can see I have the buildings with the green roof.
Yeah, I see them. I see them, Lou.
Yeah, that's where I am. So I don't know if I'm part of that or not. And I hope I'm not, because I have some questions.
Well, did you get notified?
No.
You're not listed on the list of abutters.
Okay, wonderful.
Sounds like you're good to go, kid.
Okay. All right, Joe, you have any questions?
You asking me?
Joe.
He's asking me. I mean, there's some areas where it does go right along wetland areas, but they're also right adjacent to the highway. So reality is the sidewalk is probably giving us a little bit more protection than the roadway itself. I'm kind of I lost track of the conversation of which side of the road the sidewalk is on. So if I start on Sutton Street, as I come down Sutton, it's on the airport side, or is it on the China Blossom side?
Airport side.
Airport side.
Airport side. But then it gets to 125 and it crosses 125 right at that intersection?
Excuse me, this is Dan DeRoche from Vanessa and Associates. The sidewalk coming down Sutton Street is not on the airport side.
Okay, thank you. Why did you describe to me the sidewalk routing rather than me guess?
Okay, so it comes down from, I think it's Surrey Road, which is the next side street, up Sutton Street.
Which is going to be the future senior citizen center.
Exactly. Right. It comes down across the frontage of that future property, down to the corner of the China Blossom. Then it crosses Sutton Street through the two Delta Islands, via new wheelchair ramps and such, which are part of this proposal. Then it follows along 125 on the southbound side from Sutton Street to meet other work that was recently completed at the end of the mobile station property. And then we did.
Well, that's on that's the side of the road with all the building improvements, not the other side where it's wooded.
Correct.
Correct.
Up to the mobile station, so I'm good to there. And does it shift or does it stay on the same side?
Yeah, then there's a section of work that was completed as part of the Princeton Properties mitigation from the mobile station down to the strip plaza just before you get to the wetland area. And then what was left out was from the strip plaza to the Mexican restaurant. It's about 400 feet of sidewalk, which is currently just a grass shoulder. And that's being reconstructed into a curb and sidewalk on that area. So the sidewalk will be contiguous from the Mexican restaurant all the way to Sutton Street, crossing Sutton Street, and then going up Sutton Street on the side opposite the airport.
Got it. Okay, I understand. Thank you.
When this work is completed.
Okay, so in every opportunity, you not only have made the pedestrian accommodation, but you've also done it in a way that keeps it as far away from the adjacent wetlands as possible.
Correct. Well,
in the closest location, maybe?
Except for the one near the Mexican restaurant, we're right against it. I mean, the only option is across the street, but there's no crossings at Great Pond Road.
Trust me, I know about that. Well, even when the Mexican restaurant came through, various permitting iterations, I say various because there were 2 or 3 different proposals that we considered there. That was a crazy tight site. A sidewalk on the busy street compared to what they did on that parking lot and driveway into the restaurant is nothing. The sidewalk's pretty minimal.
Right.
So Amy, at the closest point, I mean, right there, it's right in that stretch of the restaurant. It's literally behind the sidewalk, the wetland, right?
Yes.
Just behind the fence.
Just behind the fence. Yep.
Okay. And is there an opportunity with that fence there? Is there an opportunity to provide adequate erosion controls during construction?
I think so.
There is? Okay. I'm all set. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Al?
I am all set, sir.
Okay. I have a couple of questions. From the car wash, or I forget the name of that road, to the Mexican restaurant, the sidewalk has already been installed?
From the northern end of the mobile station up to the second driveway of the strip plaza, there is sidewalk that was installed last year. And then what we're installing with this proposal is the connection to, extend it down to the Mexican restaurant and extend it from the mobile station up to Sutton Street and then up Sutton Street also.
Okay, good. My question is, I don't remember there being what Joe Fish will call it, I know it's to Joe Fish, but once you cross that street, there's a sidewalk there? Directly in front of Butcher Boy.
There is a sidewalk coming down on the Loft and the Joe Fish side, and it ends, I forget the name of the street, was it Commerce Street?
Yes.
Commerce so the sidewalk from up near the new Princeton development comes all the way down in front of all the restaurants and the electrical repair shop, and it stops at Commerce Street.
All right, so what are we doing in between Commerce Street and the Mexican restaurant?
That is an area of wetlands that has an engineering challenge, which is beyond the scope of our budget.
Yes, it is. That was. I know
right.
And to reinforce Joe's question, there was some reluctance by the Butcher Boy people to put the sidewalk in front of them.
That is correct.
Okay.
So the sidewalk on the Butcher Boy side stops at the Butcher Boy property line.
Okay. That's where the sidewalk is, on the opposite side of the road, correct?
That's where it is today, already completed.
Yes, on Butcher Boy side.
Correct. It stops just to the northern end of the Butcher Boy property.
Okay, so you're starting the sidewalk on the opposite side with a gap in between, is what you're proposing.
Right. We with what we have proposed here, in addition to what was built, a part of a sidewalk section that was built under the Princeton development, we will now have a contiguous sidewalk from Sutton Street up to the Mexican restaurant, and then there is a contiguous sidewalk from Commerce Street up to, I believe it's the MTM Insurance Agency at the top of the hill near Barker Farm.
Okay, so what I'm saying is there's going to be a gap on the sidewalk between the Mexican restaurant and Joe Fish or Commerce Way.
Correct, and that is, as I said, we have a budget that we were trying to utilize, and we maximized the sidewalk that we could install for the budget amount that we have remaining. We have a MassWorks grant that we're working off of. And that section that you just referred to will likely require some sort of retaining wall, and it will be significant, in the hundreds of thousands of dollars to.
I agree. My question is what right does Butcher Boy Market have that we can't put the sidewalk in front of their property? That's got to be state land in front of their property, correct?
With the way the design was done, I believe the sidewalk could extend in front of their property possibly about 100 feet before the strip of land from the paved roadway to the property line is too narrow to fit a sidewalk. And that is why we were unable to get it in there, because the Butcher Boy property, at the time we were, coordinating with them, we're not willing to give up the property.
Okay. I'm just curious, so so you're saying the state right away isn't big enough to support a sidewalk on that side of the road?
In front of the Butcher Boy property, I believe on the northern end, there's about 5 to 6 feet of right of way off of the paved roadway. And as you head more to the south, closer to Great Pond Road, the area is only like 2 to 3 feet wide, which is not wide enough for a sidewalk, without obtaining land from Butcher Boy.
Okay. I'm full of questions because this is my neighborhood. On the Sutton Street side, where you said the sidewalk is going on the China Blossom side?
Correct.
All right. On 125, there's to get off 125 on the Sutton Street, there's almost like a ramp, and it's a blind side from them trees. While we're here, is there any chance of getting the line of sight? Because I have trucks, and it's been many a time. We talked about it from a director before, and we were supposed to look at it, but never got done, or never got proposed.
I'm not 100% sure which area you're talking about. If you could just describe it to me one more time so I can visualize where you.
Okay, you're on 125, you go past the mobile station.
Yeah.
And then Sutton Street, there's a light, but there's a roadway it's like almost like an off-ramp to come off 125 onto Sutton Street. And
The slip right lane, yes.
It's a blind corner. And people really, really use it excessively.
I believe I understand where you're going with this, where for that slip right lane that comes, as you said, from the mobile station up to Sutton Street, the new the proposal here, in addition to sidewalk, is a pedestrian signal crossing of Sutton Street. So that slip right lane is going to be signalized now. It's not going to be a free-for-all.
Oh, good.
So it will be stopped. When anybody wants to cross the street, they'll push the button, the lights will turn red, the crosswalk will be illuminated, and they can cross, into the Delta Island. And the same thing on the China Blossom side. If you were coming down Sutton Street, turning right onto 125 South, that slip right lane will also be signalized for the pedestrian to push a button, get the red light, and then make the crossing. There is some, as you go around the corner from Sutton Street to that commercial driveway that goes to the back of the few buildings there, near the mobile station, there is a very minor widening of a couple of feet there, which will help open up, the view, and the grade, the slope behind the curb is being flattened, just to grade it back so that there's no, potential erosion problems from a steep slope.
So that's on the China Blossom side or the opposite side by the airport?
It's on the opposite side from the China Blossom. On the China Blossom side, there is a sidewalk going in, and because there is, a pretty substantial hill there, there's a curbing line on the street, then there's a 5-foot wide sidewalk, and there's a curb line on the back of sidewalk that will hold up the slope.
Okay.
It has about a 9 to 10 inch reveal.
Okay.
On the back side of the sidewalk.
So therefore, there'll be probably some tree clearing also for visibility? Because people will be crossing the street, they can't see you.
Yeah, I do not believe there's any trees on the China Blossom side that require clearing, but there will be some trimming, going around the Sutton Street corner. And as you go past that commercial driveway, there is one tree that's kind of up on the bluff there, or whatever you want to call it, and it's somewhat dead. That tree is being removed.
Okay, and for reference, that's not a driveway. That's a accepted street.
It is a street. I just don't know the name of it.
Old Clock Road.
I know it's kind of a dead end.
Yeah, Old Clark Road.
Old Clock Road.
Old Clock Road. That's correct. Yep.
Okay. I'm not sorry I'm taking up all this time, but I'm not too crazy about the sidewalk just ending, and we got that one stretch, and we can't put it in because Butcher Boy is reluctant to allow us to.
Just so you understand, there's a number of engineering issues to continue the sidewalk on the northbound side of Route 125. One is the land required in front of the Butcher Boy. Then the next piece would be to cross Great Pond Road. There would need to be a redesign of that intersection because the way, I don't know the name of the store. It used to be Treadwell's Ice Cream. When you turn the corner from northbound to Great Pond Road, that's a very large radius slip right lane that's unsignalized and not a condition that Mass DOT would put a crosswalk on. So that whole intersection would need a major redesign in order to accommodate pedestrians on the northbound side of 125, which again, it's feasible. It's just, not within the budget of what we have to work with right now.
Well, okay. I just figured when the time comes when you got to figure out the budget, putting the sidewalk by that, it's a pond. Basically, it's been a beaver dam or pond for like ever. And it's right up against the road. So I think the expense to do that versus going on the Butcher Boy side, I think they're going to find that cheaper to go on the Butcher Boy side, but that's my personal preference. Sorry.
It could be, and it would also give you some geometric improvements that intersection could benefit from.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Jack?
You're welcome.
Jack with us?
Jack, you there?
We may have lost him.
I don't know. Well, we can move on to Sean. And then go back to Jack.
Sure. So this is Sean. So what were the alternatives that you looked at to avoid going into the buffer?
Going into the wetland buffer?
Yes.
In order to connect the sidewalks, it's impossible because the wetland buffer goes completely across the street.
And can you tell me, I'm looking at the drawings, what drawing number best would help me understand best where the wetland is and the area you're talking about? Is it sheet 5?
Right. If I am looking at, there was a 61-page PDF submission that was made by Rihanna and Mike Howard. And yeah, it is page 5. So
sheet 5.
On the upper viewport, if you see the baseline, it's, the numbers 253, 254, 255.
Yes.
255 is the area that is just within the buffer.
Gotcha.
And that's the piece in between the two driveways to the mobile station.
Okay. And how close to the wetland is it there?
I believe that's just inside the 100-foot buffer, Rihanna, is that correct?
So yes. So you're not within 25 or 50 feet.
Not for this section, no.
Yeah,
No.
for this section, we're on the, the outer limit of the 100-foot buffer.
Right.
And then if you look at the lower viewport on sheet 5, you see where it says Osgood Street, Route 125?
Yes.
On the kind of left side of the page. So,
Yep.
So you have the driveway into the strip plaza that's at station 262, and at 265 is the driveway into the Mexican restaurant. So in that case, as Rihanna explained, the property is the airport, and it's all chain link fenced off. So they approximated the wetland line basically right at the edge of the fence. And then when we're within the 25-foot buffer in that case, which covers the existing grass shoulder that is there today.
Yeah, you're gonna. So
in that grass shoulder, I believe there was a photo included. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so you said 262 to 265.
Correct.
And those are the same numbers you're talking about that were consecutive starting at do you say 252 or 262?
On the upper section of page 5, it's 256. That's 256. The area that we're within the 100-foot buffer. And on the lower side of page 5, it's between 262 and 265.
Thank you. Okay. All right. I don't have any other questions. Thanks.
Okay. Jack texted me and he wants to be excused for the rest of the meeting because he keeps going in and out.
Oh, okay.
So I told him, okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah, if I could just ask a question of either the applicant or Amy. When I'm looking at the photo number 1, view of wetland series 1 from flag 1-5, I seem to recall when back in the day when the Mexican restaurant was being constructed, the analysis of that resource area, the determination was that it was estimated habitat. that the case now, or has that changed its status?
I don't know off the top of my head.
My memory of that freshwater area there was that it was estimated habitat for Blanding's turtles, and I don't know if that's still the case now, because I'm going back over 20 years, and it's likely that we may have just done enough damage there to wipe them out. But I didn't know if Natural Resource had chimed in on it at all.
Hi, this is Rihanna Summers from Epsilon. Hopefully you guys can hear me now. I think I was muted earlier.
We can hear you.
Awesome. So I'm just looking at the figures. If you have the NOI in front of you, we have a natural heritage figure, figure number 3 in attachment B. And it does show, I believe it shows the area you were talking about. The lake itself is in match habitat, priority habitat. Actually, it looks like priority and estimated habitat. But it shows it outside of the actual project area, just within, looks like the limits of the lake itself.
It's not showing it on the opposite side of the street from the lake?
No. No, okay. And this is the 2017 version, it looks like, of the atlas.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not surprised because there's been so much construction in the area over the past 20 years, and so much activity on both the airport and the commercial side, that if there was any estimated habitat there, they've likely moved on. Okay, that's all I had. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Sure.
All right, so we have, let me have a look again. All right, so planning board is signed off on this, Amy?
Yes.
Okay. All right, are there any more questions?
This is Sean. Just as far as the applicant goes, that on the lower sheet, or the lower part of that sheet, that in the 160s, you can't. Is it outside the 50? Is that not town property at that point? Is that the issue?
Which are you talking about? One of the plan sheets?
Yeah, plan sheet number 5 that we've spoken about a little while ago.
Let me just.
And we talked about the lower part of the sheet that involved about 162, 163, 164. I see that it looks like the sidewalk is just within the 50.
The sidewalk ends at 265.
Yes, that whole 262, 262, 263, 264, 265.
Correct. Yep, approximately 400 feet long.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 300 feet long.
But the sidewalk is going to be within the layout, the right-of-way layout of Route 125, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And we're approximately 5 feet from the right-of-way line. There's 5 feet of grass behind the new sidewalk when we're finished, plus or minus.
Right, so that right-of-way doesn't, you don't have a right-of-way that is 50 feet away. You've put it as far you've kept it as far away as you possibly can over there. Is that correct?
The sidewalk from the wetland area, is that what you're asking?
Yes.
That is correct. I should say we have a 2-foot grass strip on the street side, more so because of snow plowing issues and whatever. If we don't have a little bit of a buffer from the street, you're going to have, the sidewalk covered by snow plows in the winter, and as well as having pedestrians walk, as close to the high-speed road. So the grass strip is preferred, which is the typical section of that sidewalk that was built in front of the Dunkin' Donuts and et cetera, as part of the earlier work that has already been completed.
All right, thanks.
Let me follow up with that same question and ask it in engineering terms. The existing roadway pavement edge, and if there's any curbing out there, and I don't recall if there is or not, but is there any box widening proposed in order to get this curbing installed, put the grass strip in and the sidewalk in? Is the back of the sidewalk going to, I mean, just leave it at that. Is there a box widening of the existing pavement in any area?
In the area of 262 to 265, no. We're just saw cutting approximately a foot off of the edge of the pavement in order to put in the new curb. And then it will be, concreted in place and then paved over to match the existing pavement. Then from the curb, there's a 2 foot, hold on one second. Just confirm the dimension on the sidewalk.
Yeah, I'm looking at the cross section, in the right station locations, by the way. 2 foot shoulder, 3 foot grass strip, and 5 foot asphalt sidewalk.
Right.
And then,
so the 3 foot grass strip, just so we're clear, includes the width of the curb.
Includes the curb. Okay.
Inches. Yeah.
Got it.
So
Okay.
the space the curb to back a sidewalk dimension is 8 feet.
All right. Let me ask this other question. Is there curbing out there now?
I think it is kind of an asphalt remnant of what was there before, curb, berm, that type of thing. I know the catch basin had a curb inlet stone, but I believe the rest of it was just asphalt. And I can confirm that on Google if you.
Actually, we have a photograph in the submission. I just got to scroll up to it.
I was just going to say, photo number 6 in the attachment C in the NOI shows that area. And it looks like I don't really see much of a curb, a little bit of asphalt.
Yeah, I think it was just an old asphalt berm, and it's kind of not really there anymore.
Yeah, that's exactly it. We'll get photo 6. So I'm going to maintain, just to help address, maybe Sean's already satisfied, but help fortify the net improvement here. So if you've got a vertical curb, any salty runoff from the roadway is not going to be just meandering directly into the wetland. It's going to be confined to a curbing and get into the drainage system.
Correct.
You've got a grass strip that's going to actually be a place for the snow to be stored, and then a 5 foot separation. As it exists out there now, all your winter impacts are directly into that wetland. So I think there's a net improvement of the sidewalk as close as it might be. It's better than what's there now.
I would agree.
Okay. Any more questions? Motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we close an issue in 21 days.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Okay, so it carries.
What was there, one opposition, Lou?
Yes,
Okay.
myself.
All right, so it sounds like a 3 to 1, or 3 to 1.
Yep.
Okay, Amy.
You there, Amy?
Yep, sorry, I was muted. Got that. Yep.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
All right,
Good night.
thank you. Thank
All
you.
right, the next one is 242-1795, 597 Foster Street.
Okay, so this project involves replacing an existing failed septic system, associated grading, retaining walls, driveway relocation, walkways, and concrete patio. The new septic system, the components, and associated grading are to be located partially within the footprint of the existing driveway and the side yard. Grading will come up in front of the existing garage, basically rendering the garage not usable for car storage anymore, so that it's going to completely engulf that front part of the house. A replacement driveway is proposed on the south side of the house, and work will be located within the 50-foot no-build zone. I went out to review the wetland line with Maureen Harold of Norse, and what happened was that she delineated the wetland in March, and between March and last week, her wetland flags were mown over basically, because the wetland's partially within the yard. So by the time we got out on site together, she had reestablished the flagging by memory. So it wasn't by survey. So we were out there most of the morning and moved flags and did some measurements. And once I was able to get back to the office and compare our measurements to the plan, our measurements matched up with the plan better than I thought. So I think what happened was flag replacement before Friday's site visit was based on memory and not by survey. So I think what I'd like to see is for the wetland line to be surveyed in place and our flags left in place where we put them so that we can compare. And then I'll feel more comfortable with saying that the wetland line is accurate after that. So there is some work in the 50-foot no build. It includes parts of the septic system, a concrete patio at the back of the house, and part of the footprint of that patio is currently asphalt that wraps around the house. Let's see, they did submit a waiver worksheet for this work, and we walked to view the brook, the perennial stream, and I feel comfortable based on our site walk and the conditions out there that the work is outside of the 200-foot riverfront area. There is a wetland across the street, which I found to be fine. The wetland flags were there from the original flagging, so I think that delineation is fine.
Okay, thank you, Amy. Joe, any questions?
Just making sure I was unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
So the existing septic system is on the side where the future driveway is going to be, and it's failed, and they're relocating it to the other side just to meet the Board of Health regulations as best they can, correct?
The tank is at the rear of the house, and I'm not sure where the leaching field is, but Maureen might be able to answer that.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess the reality is, if you look at where the wetland area is, the septic system is dry. The location of the leach field is driving the whole design of this project, and they've gotten it as far away from the resource area as possible, which is also something the Board of Health would probably want from a sanitary perspective. That's what's forcing this driveway on the other side. So it's not. So I guess their alternatives analysis is kind of driven by the septic. There really is no other place to put the driveway.
Right.
Is that fair to say, right? And,
that's correct. And I think the leach field is in the backyard from the placement of the septic tank.
All right. So the elephant in the room is, what is that perimeter structure with the concrete box in the middle of it? What is that in the backyard?
So that was an existing barn that was on the property. The owner's father had owned this piece of land for a long period of time. There was an existing barn. It essentially collapsed, fell down. It was never maintained except for that concrete pad area. It's surrounded by wood timbers. It's nicely landscaped. It's an item that we would like to keep if possible.
I mean, I guess it sounds like it's a relic that may be quite old. And I guess do we know how old it is? I mean, does it predate the bylaw or the Wetlands Protection Act?
I can find out a date. I know the house was constructed in 1964. So that predates the Wetland Protection Act as well as the bylaw.
So I had
And I'm gonna say if the barn fell down, it's probably at least that old, if not older.
Yeah, I had asked Maureen to maybe do some aerial photography research to get a handle on that.
I can do that.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a need, if it's more recent and it's something that just kind of appeared in the backyard and none of us knew about it, this is the time to address it. But I'm not, no, if it's old, I can tell you, I'm not concerned with it if it predates the bylaw or the act.
Okay.
And that's the only, I'm all set. Thank you.
Maureen, just so to dovetail that, Maureen did, the applicant provided Maureen with some photos, like family photos of the backyard. They're not dated, but there is a car in the photo that looks pretty old, maybe early 70s or something, I don't know. But, so I can share those with you.
Yeah, I mean, we need to be able to document as best we can how old it is. We've had this conversation on sheds and other things in the past, and this is one of those types of things.
Yep.
To talk about it now, and maybe there's nothing to it.
Yep.
Al?
Thank you. Amy, my question, I want to go back to your delineation. I'm a little confused. I shouldn't say your delineation, but your inspection. Are you satisfied with the line, or do you want the line to be, do you want a second look at the line?
I want a second look at the line. I'd like for the line to be surveyed in place and then allow our flags that we moved on Friday to stay so that I can see, where it was originally surveyed and if we move them in, in any way.
Okay, and now I understand. Also, across the street, there's a flag line across the street. Now, I can't say with any certainty. I can't remember if that was an open meadow area or if it was a treed area. I seem to recall a tremendous amount of vernal pools down that end of Foster Street, in the vicinity of Foster, Winter Green, that area down there.
Okay.
Did anybody actually, do we have any information on that? Because that's my memory of it down that. That's a very low area down there.
It is a low area. There's no vernal pools on this property, and that wetland, at least directly adjacent off the street, I didn't see any vernal pools or ephemeral pools. It's more of a wooded area than it is, an open area that holds water.
Yeah.
At least that was my opinion of it.
Yeah. Okay. And I appreciate that. Maybe Amy, when you're doing your next inspection on the site, you could just take a look over there and check it against our record maps. That's a section of town where there were a lot of pools, both recorded and not recorded over the years. And that's really my only concern. I just wanted to make sure you got that to your satisfaction. I'm all set otherwise. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Al. Al, I have a question, and I'm not questioning your integrity, Maureen, but that concrete pad, it just seems awful funny that the wetlands go right around the concrete pad. It just seems like, I mean, it's definitely in the 25. That's the pad, but I think at one point the pad was in the wetlands. If it's not serving a function, I think it should be removed. So I think if Amy goes out there and checks that line, I think we're going to be surprised at how that works out. And the other, that's I think I'm sorry. I think it should be removed because it is clearly a violation, even though it's grandfathered. If it's not really serving a purpose, I think it should be removed. And then I have some questions on the second pad, but I'll hold off on that. Sean?
So could I address that?
Yes.
So, yeah, absolutely right. That pad is in the wetland. If I was to do soils, I'm sure I'd get a hydric soil there. And I had discussed that with Amy out on the site. You know, it's essentially a nice patio area now. It's landscaped between the concrete pad and the timbers. It's a mulch bed with some nice black-eyed Susans. It's a dynamite patio area. From my understanding, as I said before, it was there from the previous barn. We'd like to keep it, or we'd like the commission to possibly consider allowing it. I'll certainly get the history of that area and a date for the commission.
Okay, thank you. Sean?
I don't have anything at this point, Lou. I'll wait till we find out more to confirm the lines out there.
Okay, so we need to continue to, so, I mean, can we refresh the flags, or who, I don't know who's doing it. So we'll continue to the next meeting?
Well,
Sure can.
Lou, I'd like to make the motion to continue. However, I'd like to make sure that I'd like to insist that Amy get out there and re-inspect the entire wetland flag line across the entire site.
I agree.
Could I ask the commission for just a bit of feedback? Obviously, I'm requesting some waivers from the commission, one of them being the driveway. We are trying to mitigate for that with the infiltration trench that is proposed within the 50-foot. Is that something that is allowable, or is that something that I need to look at and possibly come back with a redesign?
I can give you my opinion. This is Al. My opinion would be, if you don't have any alternative, generally we like to see an alternatives analysis on a question like that. That would be my take on it. I don't know if anybody else has a thought.
That was my opening question when it was my turn to ask. And you know, since the design of the septic system drives the entire site, that in itself satisfied me with regards to their alternative. There is none. Either no driveway or it's where it is. And because they've surrounded it in the areas closest to the wetland with an infiltrator drainage wick, that's not a bad thing. So I'm satisfied with the alternatives analysis, and I think, you know, they are within the 50.
Yep.
Yes.
But not in the 25. So I think it's not overly wide. I think it meets everything that we would have asked them to do. I'm all set.
Okay.
Well, this is Sean, and to just bring up a point, if she does have an alternatives analysis, and she does offer two viable alternatives, I think the third one is to relocate the driveway and the infiltration trench outside of the 50-foot no build zone. So I'm trying to find out if the driveway is located outside the 50, this reduces the width and number of vehicles they can park. I think if those are the downsides to that, what are the other downsides to that alternative other than not being able to park more vehicles in the driveway?
Well, the problem is that Foster Street is a country road, and it's quite narrow. So if you were having Thanksgiving and a number of family members over, it would be quite difficult to park on the side of the road. You know, so this driveway, I feel, is modest in size, it's modest in width, and it'll allow a couple of cars in the driveway.
Okay, well then, to answer your question earlier, I do think they're alternatives, and I would like you to examine them further. Unlike I heard some comments that maybe they didn't see, you know, these other alternatives that were out there. So okay. I do think it should be something that should be considered.
Okay. So you have your direction. So we just need to continue. And so you have some alternative analysis for the driveways, a driveway replacement. And like I said, I do have an issue with the I know they've enhanced it and they put flowers and patio and whatever, but you got people still sitting in the wetlands and using an activity in the wetlands. So I have an issue with the concrete pad. So I'm just making you aware.
Okay.
All right. So we need a motion to continue.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? And that's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yep. All right, next page. 242-1766-1600 Osgood Street.
Okay, this comes to the commission as a request for an amendment to the existing order of conditions for the Amazon project. Very high level overview of the proposed changes, and I'm going to let the project wetland consultant and engineer fill in the gaps with detail. So first and foremost, none of the changes that are proposed impacts RCA management that was previously approved. So nothing changes in that respect. Per the planning board, their pre-construction condition was that groundwater testing be performed, and a couple of areas on the site showed groundwater elevations 1 to 2 feet higher than they expected, and therefore impacted the stormwater BMP elevations and associated grading. And what they wanted to do is endeavor to maintain the 4-foot separation to groundwater. So that's, you know, it's not the 2 feet. We did the 4 feet here. Let's see. There was some changes to the site entrance and internal drive connections that resulted to some modifications to the stormwater BMPs, the layout of them, and some site layout changes towards the front of the site. In the area of stormwater pond B1, there was some additional grading that needed to be done, and that decreases compensatory flood storage by about 4,000 cubic feet. But the overall flood storage compensation is still well in excess of the 1-to-1 ratio. So they're proposing about approximately 81,000 cubic feet of fill with 128,000 cubic feet of compensation. So we're still, you know, have a very robust replacement. Project engineer and the wetland scientists are with us this evening. Stormwater peer review is currently underway, but we don't have their comments back yet, and the planning board will open their hearing on September 15th. That's all I have.
Thank you, Amy. Joe?
Thank you, Amy. That was a fabulous summary. I'm a little frustrated, and I'm trying not to let my tone sound that way. Unfortunately, we put an awful lot of effort and a lot of detail into the whole understanding of where is the groundwater on this site, because there were a lot of principles that were carried through the design and ultimately the permit that we issued. So I thought we had pretty good groundwater information, but apparently we didn't. So I guess I'm embarrassed for not insisting that we had something more substantial. That being said, all of the things that we worked out in the beginning of that, those discussions through the permitting process should still be in place. So I don't know how widespread the elevated groundwater location is on the site. Where is it? I hear there's no changes proposed for the RCA and the recycled pavement use areas, but does that mean that the groundwater is higher? They're just not proposing to do anything with the RCA any differently? That's not clear to me. or is it that the water is not substantially higher in those areas to affect those designs? So I think that's probably my opening comment, my only comment until I hear some more information as the stormwater review gets done. Because I think, knowing for certain where the actual groundwater is throughout the entire project area, within our jurisdiction, and i.e. that means the stormwater management areas as well as the RCA areas that we extended jurisdiction into, and then the resource areas themselves. And we need to know all those elevations and how they affect the project. So I don't know if they have those answers for tonight, but in the meantime, I'd be satisfied with the stormwater review, flushing it all out.
Thank you, Joe. Al?
Thank you. So I'm not going to surprise anyone. I'm gonna echo exactly what Joe just brought up. My first and most important question will always be the possible infiltration of the RCA. That is, even though as proposed as encapsulated, we're looking at a 2-foot difference, 1 to 2 feet higher than expected on a 4-foot separation. That's a big number, and so I'm not going to be satisfied with just anybody's word telling me that it's not going to infiltrate the RCA. But my second question, I think, is something that they won't be able to answer tonight, but I want to get an answer at some point. Will there be additional fill required to be brought onto the site to maintain the 4-foot separation? If you're not going to need additional fill, I want to know how you're going to maintain the 4-foot separation in areas where the groundwater is 1 to 2 feet higher, and significantly on a year we're in an official drought. So that's the area where I'm looking at, and it may not be able to be answered tonight, and I appreciate that, but those are my questions. Thank you.
Thanks. I would just like to say, if anything positive comes out of this, is from now on, we're going to require, or we should require groundwater testing, because we definitely missed the boat on this one, and I'm very interested in how we're going to, what we're going to use for fill, how we're going to get fill, and echo Joe's questions also. Sean?
You guys have covered it pretty well. I don't have any questions.
Okay. Mike, are you here?
I am, Lou. How are you? It's nice to hear your voice. You guys, it's been a long time. I'm here. I'm joined by Tim O'Neill from Langen as well. You guys have hit on all the high points. You've obviously asked a lot of good and poignant questions as usual. With your permission, Lou, I think Tim can alleviate some of your concerns and at least start the discussion working towards responses for any open items that come out of this hearing. He's prepared to walk the commission through the background and some context, and ideally that will facilitate a follow-up discussion with you. So if it's okay with you, I'll ask Tim to walk you and your colleagues through the packet of sheets he pulled together for this hearing. He tried to do it in a way so it could be easy to follow, knowing we're trying to do this via conference call, and he's annotated some graphics, which I think you have in front of you. So I guess with that, Lou, I'll turn it over to Tim, or does that work?
Thank you. Thank you. Tim?
There goes Tim.
Yep. All right. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. And before we jump into this, I just want to explain a little package that I put together for you guys. It should be an 11-page document, and each page was taken from the submission that's on record with the town right now. And down in the bottom right-hand corner, I put a little sheet number reference if you want to go look that up and see the blank page without the addition of the colored blobs that I have everywhere. All right, so moving into this, there's basically two things that are driving the amendment to this site. One is that the Mass DOT is requesting an adjusted layout for Osgood Street, which affects the entrances of the site. Currently, Lot A uses the 2 internal driveways, and from the way things are progressing, it looks like those will be restricted turn movements now, meaning you won't be able to take a left out of the site or a left into the site. And because of that, we've provided internal connection driveways to the Lot B access driveways, which provides access to a full movement signalized intersection for vehicular traffic. And the second one is the higher than anticipated groundwater that we encountered. And we encountered it in 3 main areas on the site. And I'd like to get to that a little bit later. And first we'll run through the site layout changes. So again, we're looking at CS 100, and I've put little reference bubbles with numbers on each sheet just so that we can follow along appropriately. Bubble number 2 is where the northern internal connection is between lot A and lot B, and bubble number 3 is the southern internal connection between lot A and lot B. And then you'll see bubbles 4, 5, and 6 are all referencing slight changes to retaining walls that don't have a large impact on this application, but we wanted to make sure you're aware of them moving forward. So if you click to your next sheet, you'll be looking at CS 103, which is the 40 scale drawing of the northern connection to the Lot B access drive. It's located in the northern proposed Lot A parking lot, just to the north of the existing Building 21 to remain. And we placed it at the end of the main drive aisle through that northern parking lot. And then if you click to your next sheet, you'll be on CS 106. And this area depicts the southern internal connection. Again, we placed it along the main drive aisle to connect to the Lot B access driveway, providing the access to the full turning movement intersection signalized accessing Lot B. And clicking to our next sheet, I just put this in here to reiterate it that everything that we have previously established with the reclaimed concrete still applies in this condition, and it will not change. It will only be placed under the building as discussed previously.
Okay.
All right. And then jumping to the overall grading plan, this is CG 100. Here I've identified all of the major stormwater and grading changes to this sheet. The stormwater changes are highlighted in blue, and the grading are in magenta. I've also highlighted a couple of the wetlands that are in close proximity to these areas while they're not being affected, just so that they stand out for you. I just want you to be aware of where they are. And to address the high groundwater impacts, there are 3 areas on site. And the first is the northern portion of the Lot A parking, where the 1 through 5 bubbles are. The second is the southern portion of Lot A parking, where the 6 through 8 bubbles are, majority just in the area of the 6 bubble. And the third would be in the southwest corner of Lot B, down by the 10 and 11 bubble. Now you'll notice that where we did encounter higher groundwater than expected is not centered around the AUL area and areas that we had discussed with the environmental impacts. And that's because all of the historic data and monitoring that we have on the site was focused on that area. So as per our prior condition, we went back and did some additional testing. And the testing that we did was located in the areas where we had scarce information. So we went and put in some monitoring wells and took multiple readings and chose the highest values of those and are adjusting the plans accordingly to account for that, with a minimum of 4-foot separation from our highest groundwater finding and the bottom of infiltration systems. Right, and moving on to the next sheet, we're on CG 103. And what you're looking at is the 40 scale blow up of the northern parking lot area of Lot A. In the previous application, there was an infiltration basin that ran from east to west in the location of the proposed 1 and 2 features. With the addition of the interconnection driveway taking up a lot of that volume, as well as raising up the bottom of pond for feature 1 from 40 to 42.5 and the bottom of pond for feature 2 from 40 to 40.5, it reduced the capacity of infiltration and the volume for storage and attenuation, which required an underground infiltration system, which is identified by bullet 3. So the conveyance line is still the same as what was previously approved. We're kind of just jumping systems now and discharging the same location. I put a couple blue arrows on there so you could see it, but water is collected via catch basin in the northern parking lot, discharged to the underground infiltration system where it's treated, infiltrated, attenuated, discharged to a pipeline where it joins other flows collected and makes its way over to the infiltration basin, which is feature number 2. Again, treated, infiltrated, attenuated before being discharged to feature number 1, which has now been changed to an existing dry detention basin rather than an infiltration basin because we couldn't attain the required 4 foot of separation. So we've removed the infiltration capacity from our models and design. And from there, it's discharged as it was under the previously approved application. And now the major grading changes in this area are highlighted with number 4 in magenta, and grades were raised roughly 1.5 feet in that area just to pick up the top of pond a little bit and allow for the placement of the underground infiltration system. And then moving on to the next sheet, we have CG 104. This identifies infiltration basin C-1, again, slightly higher groundwater than was anticipated. And the bottom of that basin was raised from 38 to 39 to maintain that 4 foot of separation. And then CG 106. In this instance, in the BMP feature number 1, previously there were 2 separate infiltration basins in this location. They've been combined into one in this instance, again, because of higher groundwater and to accommodate the grading for the interconnection from the parking lot to the Lot B driveway. Slopes needed to be lowered so we could get vehicles up the slope appropriately on a curve. So to bring these grades up, we raised Area 2 and Area 3. Area 3 has the most fill on site, between 5 and 6 feet, I believe. Area 2 is only about 1 foot or so. And that allowed us to combine those 2 ponds, discharging at about the same elevation, maintaining an excess of 4 feet of separation from seasonal high groundwater, and again, discharging in a similar fashion to the previously approved application. And then we'll move on to CG 107. Area 1, the grades were adjusted, and this area was brought up to avoid the installation of a retaining wall between Lot A and Lot B. Other than that, there are no substantial changes to this page, and you'll see a few of the retaining walls around the edge. And those have been, the one on the southern side has been reduced in height, and a small retaining wall just to the west of the Area 1 has been included to accommodate the guard shack. We'll move to CG 108. And this is the location of the previous dry extended detention basin B-1. In the previous condition, there was a retaining wall in the grading area identified as 3 that has been removed and graded down to the top of pond. The modified extended dry detention pond 1 shown on this plan, the bottom of the basin has been raised by 1 foot, again, to get it above seasonal high groundwater. And Area 2 has been adjusted for grading to accommodate some additional volume in this basin as well. Now, Area 2 grading is where the impacts of the compensatory sludge storage come in. And if you flip to the next sheet, I'll go over that one. So we're now on CG 802. And Area 1, kind of towards the center of your page, there's a blue area, which identifies the previously approved compensatory flood area that existed in the previous application. And down in the bottom left-hand corner, identified by 2, I have an inset of what that used to look like. So in the new proposed condition, we are just taking back some of the overcompensation that we previously provided, and we're leaving the existing flood line in place instead of expanding it like we were in the previous application. And the compensatory storage charts have been updated. In the upper right-hand corner, you'll see 3 with the revised numbers and 4 with the previously approved numbers. If you're able to zoom in there, you'll see we've reduced the compensatory flood storage between elevation 29 and 30 by roughly 2,000 cubic yards. And we've reduced the compensatory flood storage between 30 and 31 by roughly 2,000 cubic feet as well. And sorry, I think I said cubic yards, but it's cubic feet. After making those adjustments, we are still overcompensating by roughly 50,000 cubic feet above the 1-to-1 ratio, so we are still well within compliance. And those are the major changes we have right now. I can try and address some of the questions, or if you'd like to address other ones first, I'm open to suggestions.
All right, thank you. Well, this has, I think the commission is going to be waiting for that third-party review, but there might be some more questions after your presentation. Joe, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I do, because I'm not sure the third-party reviewer would be looking at this question that it's important to the commission. As you walk through that narrative, which by the way was a very, very good one, thank you. It seems to be the only place where we have a potential impact to recycled concrete materials is on CG 108 in that back area. And I say that because that's adjacent to the new building, which is where that recycled material would be placed. So what you know now about where the water table is, but specific to this area, you must understand how that affects the bottom of your foundation and your footing, and how does that compare to your proposed use of recycled concrete fill inside the foundation. So I think I need to see some sort of a table or a cross section or a sketch of some sort shows that separation is being maintained. And you must know where it is, because you know where that groundwater is down on in the area that's shown on CG 108.
Yeah, and we do understand the groundwater elevations in that area. And a few comments I can make right off the bat with that is that the bottom of the extended dry detention basin, so not an infiltration basin, is down at, I believe it's at elevation 31 now. And our building finished foot elevation is around, should know this, hold on, I can zoom in for a second here, is at 47. So we've already got, into the teens of separation, and reclaimed concrete will be no deeper than a certain amount that was previously approved. So we'll have more than several feet of separation between potential high groundwater and reclaimed concrete. And now I'll also mention that as we move to the north and west on the site, groundwater does get even lower. So we're looking at the high end of groundwater on the southern side of the building. So we do see there being plenty of separation between seasonal high groundwater and reclaimed concrete, and would be happy to provide cross sections for that if you'd like to see that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think I want to see a graphic, a cross section graphic of what you know through this building area, of where your data shows where groundwater is, particularly the areas where the recycled concrete's going, and showing specifically what is the lowest depth of fill for that material that you're going to be prescribing. And then the delta would be, that's the separation between groundwater and the material. I think that in the context of where is the footing to the foundation helps us address the same question we had 6 months ago or more. And that is that the foundation itself acts as a cutoff for any lateral movement. So separation being one, and then any lateral movement being the second concern. So, somewhere, may not be in the drawing set for construction purposes, but somewhere in the set for the record for us, I think we need to see that in the area where the fill's proposed, because I think stormwater will be simply a stormwater review as runoff as it compares to the regs, but not in the context of any concern for the recycled material. And I hate to say it, we've become very, very sensitive to that concern. And in fact, probably drove most of the debate during the initial design of this project. So that's what I'm going to be, or as the stormwater review is also being considered in a parallel fashion.
Yep, understood. We can make that up, and we'll include it in the record set too.
Thank you. Al?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay. How much more fill are you going to have to bring in to remedy this situation?
So that one's a bit of a complicated question, and we do have an answer. A lot of these volumes are based off of our general contractors' estimates, and they have their own idea of swell and shrink factor, as well as crushing concrete and how that turns into larger volumes. And we went back and forth with them and settled on something that we see as a the best option for the project. So at this point, I'd prefer to reach out, coordinate a response with them to make sure we get you the correct answer, if that works for you guys.
Okay. Well, we talked about this. I think we should have, like, in reference to what Joe said, how many cubic yards of recycled concrete are we going to allow into the foundation? We agreed that it was not going to be used anywhere else. So I'd like to see some numbers. I want to see some numbers on the recycled concrete that's going to be removed. How much is going to be used? How much fill you're going to be using? I'm sure you're going to mill the parking lot and use that for fill. But it would be nice. It would be nice to know how much additional fill is going to be needed now.
Well, Lou, as you just heard, they don't know. And
well, they do know.
No, they don't know that because his answer was very loud and clear. He's got to go back and talk to the contractor who has his own ideas about what's needed to achieve separation, which was one of the questions that I asked, was how much will the increase infiltrate and how much do they need to achieve that 4-foot separation?
That's in the foundation. I'm talking about in the parking lot.
Anywhere where they need to achieve that 4-foot separation.
Did you require 4-foot separation throughout the whole project?
Isn't that under the stormwater the stormwater management plan? Doesn't that require 4-foot separation? Am I wrong?
Anywhere under an infiltration feature, we are providing 4-foot minimum separation, and the state code says 4-foot minimum separation without a groundwater mounding analysis, which could be reduced to 2. Instead, we're being more conservative in providing 4-foot.
Okay, that's fine. I forgot about that. But I do think we need to know how much recycled concrete is being removed and how much is going to be used, so we have a feel for because that's a contentious thing, recycled.
Well, I didn't hear anywhere. I haven't heard anybody say yet that they were going to put additional RCA on the site. Did I miss something? Are they proposing to bring additional RCA onto the site?
As far as I know, no. But
let's hear them answer that question.
No, all RCA will be from the demolition and only what is currently on site. There will be no additional coming in.
And is there any plan to use the RCA anywhere other than where it's already proposed?
No, we will adhere to the same guidelines that we have in previously approved set. So only under the building.
If you require additional site on the project, if you require additional fill, on the project, you won't use any additional RCA. You'll bring something else in. Do I understand that?
Yes, we'll still be using the clean fill criteria that we put forth in the previous approval.
Okay. All right.
That's what I was aiming for.
Well, that's why sometimes you just got to ask the question, and I've been trying to wrap my brain around this all night, but okay, I'm starting to get a better picture. Thank you, Lou.
Okay, thanks. That was my question. Sean, any questions?
No, Lou.
No. Okay, so where do we go? So we have to continue this anyways to next meeting.
Can I just?
Yes, I'm sorry, Amy, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I just want to make sure we get public comment in. So we did receive an email today. Can I just read that into the record?
Sure. I didn't know we had abutters.
Yes. So this is from Stephen Wyman. He's the property manager for 351 Holt Road. So I chatted with them briefly on the phone and I asked them to email me their concerns. So as a preface to our call, It is not our intention to adversely impact our neighbor's proposal. However, it is our goal to maintain the existing drainage conditions on our property. To that end, we must reserve our right to have our civil engineer at Metro West Engineering review the proposed project and stormwater management systems. We will have our engineer follow up with a summary of our concerns, if any, for your commission's consideration. Based on the assumption that the applicant has an existing right or easement to drain onto our property at 351 Holt Road, the following summarizes our initial concerns pending our engineer's review. First, the source and water quality draining onto our site, and second, confirmation the proposed development will not increase existing flows. Consistent with our call, please find our Alta Survey 351 Holt Road illustrating existing conditions on our site which were not represented on the applicant's plans we reviewed. Please note, the concrete head wall with two 36-inch outfalls are circled on the survey in red and labeled as possible encroachments. Thank you, Steve Wyman. So I suspect we'll be hearing more from them and their engineer on these issues.
Okay. It might be helpful if the applicant can address some of those questions ahead of time. I would think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm happy to address some of that right now, or if you'd prefer a written response later, I can do either.
No, I'd rather see you give them a written response.
Okay, great, we'll do that.
And CC to Amy, so we have it also.
Certainly not going to ever prevent an abutter from hiring their own engineer, but if we're doing third-party review, we're typically going to side with our third-party reviewer because somebody else's interest may be different and raise issues that our folks may not have reviewed. We would certainly take them under consideration and maybe ask our third-party reviewer to review their review. But I want to be careful to simply not accept whatever it is their hired gun brings back to us.
No, I just thought that it would be good for the applicant to address the abutters issues. Not that we're going to take them in. We could take them into consideration, but at least get them to be on the same page, and then we go with our third party review after.
Yeah, I think we're saying the same thing. If this applicant wishes to deal with the abutter directly and reach an agreement separate from our hearing, and can report back at a future meeting that such an agreement's been reached, and without controversy, then the plans should reflect whatever it is that they've agreed to. I don't want to start, unilaterally directing this project's design based on an abutter's engineer.
Absolutely not.
Joe, if I can just comment here real quick. I wouldn't suggest that we would use that review to direct anybody, but I'm very interested in seeing what their engineer reports, and I support their right to do so. I'm very interested in seeing what their summary is, and I'd like to put their summary up against our third party review and compare them and see where the similarities are and if there are any differences. But
what I would recommend of the applicant is to reach out to the abutter as soon as they can, and if there's a third party review already ongoing through the planning board for the stormwater, and if these concerns, they seem to be mostly focusing on stormwater, maybe our reviewer should be looking at in greater detail any real impact to that corner.
Yeah, I agree 100%. That's exactly what it should be.
Efficient. It would be a hell of a lot more efficient than letting reviews go in two different directions and then try to converge them down the road.
I don't think they're going in two different directions. I think that they're both trying to get the answer, and I'm interested in seeing it. I think that I think it's healthy.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough.
Okay.
Yeah, guys, this is Mike Howard. Sorry to interrupt if I could. We didn't, obviously we don't take any issue with the abutters' comments or concerns. Those are fair questions. We're happy to answer them. I'm confident that if Tim has a conversation with the abutters engineers, they'll understand what's occurring out here. There's a lot to look at, and they're asking obvious questions as a landowner. So we'll certainly make sure that we do our part, to address these issues, if there are any.
All right. And Mike, any questions or comments that they have? I wish you'd share them with Amy so that we can see them also.
Yeah, we understand what the commission is looking for. You guys are clear. Understood.
Thank you.
All right. What do you need? Mike? What do you need? 2 weeks or 4 weeks? What do you need for continuance?
Hey, Mac, are you on? I'm sorry I have to ask this, I guess, because I don't know who's on the call. But is my client Mac? Are you on the call from Hillwood?
Yeah, I'd say 2 weeks.
All right.
With that, I would respectfully request a continuance for 2 weeks, knowing that the peer review is ongoing, knowing that we owe the commission a couple of deliverables, and knowing that we have to have a conversation with the abutter. So we'll try and make that come together.
I'm happy to move 2 weeks.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Next one is enforcement order 1470 4th Street extension.
Okay, Commission received a request for continuance to the September 23rd meeting. I've been working on getting a timeline for the bylaw and regs together, and I've asked the wetland consultant to prepare a restoration plan for 2 areas that identified that are obvious fill on the site, wetland fill on the site. He is working on a draft, and we agreed that a continuance is necessary.
So moved.
I just have to say, I would suggest, this has been going on for a while. I think if they don't have the information for us at the 23rd meeting, we should start instituting fines. I'm not, that's my suggestion. Evidently, I'm not getting any feedback. So,
I mean, it sounds to me, Lou, I'm hearing from Amy, I think I'm hearing from Amy that they're cooperating.
Yeah.
So I think if it's progressing and if they're cooperating, we don't have to accelerate the speed of the cooperation as long as they're working in the direction we want them to. I'd wait till there was a stalemate before I put the smack down.
Amy, when was the first, November? This has been going on since November. I know we get the coronavirus, but, I'm sorry, I looked at the wrong one. When did this enforcement order start, Amy?
I think you guys ratified it at the March 11th meeting.
March.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well,
and then once the shutdown, the coronavirus shutdown happened, we pushed it out to the middle of July, thinking that this would really warranted an in-person conversation, and we thought we'd be back, in person by July. So
yeah. All right. I'll withdraw my request, and we'll continue the enforcement until September 23rd.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. Another one is enforcement order violation 46 Hollow Tree Lane, Raleigh.
Okay. So Commissioner recalled that this was a tree removal violation that spanned at least a couple of properties, mostly on 46 Hollow Tree Lane. The Commission issued a December 11th, 2018 enforcement order approving a plan for restoration and installation of a fieldstone wall at the 25-foot no disturb zone. We received August 2020 monitoring photos provided by the homeowner. we have September 2019 email correspondence between our field inspector, Ben Curl, and the homeowner regarding the pre-construction and post-construction of the fieldstone wall. And in the meantime, the homeowner has submitted a request for a small project permit. So that triggered my request that I do a final site inspection and we get the monitoring photos, which he provided. On my site inspection a couple of weeks ago, I went ahead and I took several measurements from as many wetland flags that I could find that were still out there. Distances between the flags and the wall varied from 7, 14, 17, 28, and 48 feet.
Oh.
So the 25-foot no disturb zone is not consistently marked off by the wall in the field. In terms of the restoration, there were 4 white pines and 4 sweet pepper bushes planted inside the 25 and wetland seed mix spread, and all those are doing well. Commission will also recall that the homeowner received a determination of applicability to allow cleaning up and reseeding the area outside the 25 to become lawn. And conditions in that determination note the requirement of the wall 25 at the 25. Work under this determination has not yet started. So I think what probably happened is there was a landscape contractor that did the work for the homeowner for the wall, and he probably went ahead and flagged the location of the wall based on the limit of clearing, and part of that clearing went into the 25-foot no disturb zone. And perhaps Ben did do a couple of measurements, but didn't do the entire length of the wall to make sure that all of that flagging was 25 feet from the wetland flags. So I had to make my findings to you to kind of explain where we're at with respect to this enforcement situation. And I let the homeowner know that I'd report to you, and we'll discuss what the next steps are.
Thank you, Amy. Joe?
I mean, this was a very unfortunate situation way back when the gypsy lumberjack came in. I think his name was Paul. And and this guy's been cooperating with us, it seems, for most of this debacle. So I think we continue to cooperate with him wouldn't be a bad thing. I have no issue. We're not discussing the small project. That's a second agenda item, correct?
Right. Yep.
So I guess the question is with all the knowledge and all the sensitivity Mr. Lally has of what happened out there, not by his doing, you know, how could this have happened? Is it just a mistake, and is it not catastrophic?
So, hi, this is Mr. Lally. I wanted to thank real quick, just thank the commission for the nearly 15-month continuance on this while I was in Afghanistan for the last year. So all that work was done some of the work was done, the actual building was done while I was gone. Before I left, we had that, I went out there with a pink, like some kind of pink tape for marking this, had it marked off based on the Hancock Associates survey at the 25-foot mark, knowing that some of that wall was going to be even beyond 25 feet. As she said, some of it measured, I think, 48 feet from the wetland flags. After the tape was up, but before the wall was being built, I had, the field inspector came out, inspected the tape that was put up, the pink tape, and said, yes, that's good, build the wall there. After the wall was built, came back, and that I actually have in an email saying, hey, the wall is good to go. Just now all you have to do is this. So the first I had heard about the wall being inside the 25 feet was within the last few days, as Amy said, when she came out last week to take a look at it. I'm not sure exactly where the mistake was made, but it was, until a few days ago, I was under the impression from the inspector that the wall was good.
I'm satisfied with the answer. I mean, I think the opportunity would have been with our inspector if there was an issue to have raised it, especially when the work had not yet started, right? I have no other questions.
Al?
Thank you. Mr. Lally?
Yes.
I want to thank you for your service, and I want to welcome you home.
Thank you.
And I want to...
it's good to be home.
Well, listen, we appreciate you. I don't know what to say on this. Between the landscape contractor and then our somebody that works for us, I don't have an answer. I think I'm going to push this down the table. But in any event, again, thank you.
Thank you.
This is an unfortunate situation, and I also would like to thank you for your service. This has been ongoing forever. I talked with Amy at Lent today about it, and one of the alternatives that I had was to go back to the line, and because you want to fix your lawn, and I respect that, but I think we should put posts where the wall was supposed to be, and from there back, just let it grow back the way it was supposed to, so you can still have the lawn you thought you were going to get, and we get to protect the wetlands. That was my suggestion.
Okay.
Sean? Are you there, Sean?
I am, Lou. I don't have any questions at this point.
Okay. So I'm listening. I'm waiting for a comment from the commission. Should we rescind the enforcement order?
What you're hearing is the sound of disappointment. That's what you're hearing.
I know. It was not a good.
It's just
discussion.
like this is just exactly the kind of stuff that we don't need to happen.
No.
Especially on this site, especially on this particular property, we just don't need this kind of nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just hugely disappointed. And I'll go along with any suggestion that you and Amy and the applicant will agree to. I'm fine with.
So if I'm recollecting and looking at the wetland flags on the approved plan, I think there's 3 posts that we would need to bring that 25 in line with the rest of the wall. So we would just need 3 posts. If you wanted to do what Lou is suggesting, it's just 3 posts.
How does Mr. Lally feel about that? Are you agreeable to that?
Yeah, I can put in 3 posts. That's easy. Just so we don't do this, don't have to go through anything like this again. Can somebody come out and show me exactly where those posts need to go, and I'll put them in right there?
I will do that.
All right, perfect.
Fabulous idea.
I agree. That is an excellent idea, and an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So yes, great idea.
Absolutely.
And Mr. Lal, you know that from the post in, you'll just let overgrow, and then from the post to your house will
right,
be
post back to the wetland. Just
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for being understanding. We haven't had this kind of dilemma in a long time. So I appreciate you working with us.
It happens.
So what's up procedurally now? What do we do with this enforcement order? Do we continue it, or do we?
Yeah, I would say continue it. Let's get the posts in, and then I think after they're in, we could probably put it to bed.
Okay, I'll move that we continue the EO.
It sounds like minutia and technicality. We run ourselves into conflict with the next small project discussion, where he's going to be requesting do something that's a relaxed standard with an open enforcement order? Or can we just roll the installation of the posts into that small project?
Let's roll it in.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would. I mean, Mr. Lally is being very cooperative, so
Yeah,
in
well,
a very tense situation.
Well, let's roll it in and clean it right up. Let's just get it done. Let's just get this done.
I agree.
Okay. I have one question for clarification, and Amy brought it up when she was out there. And so the little signs that delineate the wetland, right? Those little metallic signs that I got from Town Hall. Right now, originally I had put them up on trees at about eye level. I was told at one point to move them down to the wall after the wall was built because I put them up before. So I have the epoxy. I'm ready to put them out there, but in my mind, it seems to miss the intent, right? Right now, I have them on the first tree kind of right inside that wall, or past the wall into the wetland. They're at eye level. If I move them onto those rocks, they're at knee level. And it seems like it kind of defeats the intent because nobody's going to notice them if they were to walk up. I can move them down. Like I said, I bought the epoxy. It'll take me an hour on a Saturday morning, but should I leave them on the trees where they were actually more visible?
I would say just hold off until Amy gets out there and shows you where to put the poles, and she could tell you where to put the plackets.
I think it makes sense what he's saying, and I think that we could put some of the markers on the posts, and then we can identify trees that are as close to the wall, the rest of the wall as possible, and we can do it that way.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Excellent. All right. So you want to give the description, Amy, on the small project?
Sure. Yep. Hold on. Let me find it here. Let's see. Because that came late to you guys today. So, all right. All right. So applicant submitted a small project permit under category L for front steps and walkway replacement. All of the work is out of the 50-foot no-build zone at the front of the house. The walkway, which is currently like a brick block, and Mr. Lally provided some really good photos and explanation of what the existing conditions are. They're to be replaced with either new pavers or concrete in the same footprint. And then he plans on removing the faux brick tiles on the steps and the landing and replace them with granite treads and install the handrail. All equipment and construction vehicles will be operated from the driveway. And that's it in a nutshell.
Okay. Joe, any questions?
It's a small walkway and 3 steps. It's literally falling apart. And it's becoming a safety thing. I'm worried somebody's going to try to grab that handrail and end up in my bushes. So
I'm doing the same job at my house. 3 steps and a landing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have no questions whatsoever. It's good that you brought it to us. Thank you.
Yeah. Al?
No questions. I approve 100%.
Sean?
No questions.
Motion?
I'll offer the motion. I move that we consider this to be a small project under, is it letter L, did I hear?
Yes.
Yes.
Under letter L.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? That's unanimous.
So accordingly, I move that we approve the small project as proposed.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. I think the motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Lally.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. So,
Okay.
Amy, I'll schedule something with you to
Yep.
see where to put the posts, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, we'll do something next week.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys.
Bye.
Okay. All right, and now we have one more thing. We have the signature authorization.
Yes. So just to authorize me to sign all the permits that you've issued this evening on your behalf.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, and that's unanimous. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous.